to go and get our prostates checked. We have to go and do all of that, right? I mean, as a man who, my father, my biological father, was diagnosed with, some prostate cancer and had to have, the surgery done and all of that. As a man who has done that, I understand the importance of, for me, of going and getting checked out, because I don't want to be in a position where I've waited too late, I've waited too long, and I haven't gotten checked out, and now it's at a stage 4 or 5, whatever, and it's spreading through the body, and I'm like, oh man, and they're like, well, not much we can do at this point, right? So I want to encourage you, brothers, when we talk about space to be a man and to do man things or manly things, I need you to know that it is manly to take care of yourself and your health and your mental health and your mental well-being, your physical health, your physical well-being. And the reason why it's manly is because, the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? Well, how can you live long enough? How can you leave enough of an inheritance for your children's children if you're checking out of here at 40, if you're checking out of here at 50, if you're checking out of here? I mean, especially, let's just be real and honest about it, especially with the way that prices of everything are changing. How can you expect, right? How do you expect? How would you expect that you would be able to leave enough of an inheritance if you're not even around long enough to build up an inheritance? You know, unless you just work a phenomenal job, that pays you uh, lots and lots of money, right? And you're able to save and all that because you've already paid off the house and you've already paid off all your cars and you have no debt, right? I don't see how, with the economy and everything being the way it is, the price of gas and insurance and the price of all this, how one man could build up enough for his children and his children's children if he does not first live long enough to do so. And the only way that I know that we'll be able to get there is we have to stay on top of our health. And I need to encourage you, my brothers, that it is absolutely manly to take care of yourself. It is absolutely manly to express that you have a ache or a pain, that you have something going on in your body. I've been married a few years now, right? I'm matter of fact, next week will be my or is my anniversary, and we'll be 9 years in, right? And in those 9 years, I have had to learn how to relinquish or release some of my information for my wife. And you say, what do you mean relinquish or release some information for my wife? What I've had to come to the understanding of is that my wife needs to know when I have aches and pains, when I'm hurting. She needs to know, and like, granted, my wife is very observative, and she has come to a point to where even if I don't say it, she'll figure, hey, babe, what's wrong with you? No, no, no. I can tell something's wrong because of the way you acting, the way you, what's wrong, you know. But I've also learned that I can't leave it up to that. I've got to tell her. I have to tell her, hey, listen, my this has been hurting on me lately, and this I've had this going on, because here's the thing that I recognize: that woman fights harder for me than any other person, right? I mean, my mom has her own husband and all that to fight for and to worry about and to be concerned about. She cannot, be worried about her husband and me all at the same time, and then concerned about everybody else, so my wife, plus I don't even live with my mother anymore. I've left the nest, if you will. I've left home, right? And I've started a home and a family of my own. So now I have to let my wife know I'm hurting right now, babe. I don't feel well right now. This is what's going on with me, and this is what I ate today, and this is it made me feel like this, and because if something happens to me, you know, let's for God forbid I pass out or I whatever, and then they wheel me into the hospital, and they say, well, what did he eat? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what he ate. What did he? I don't know. I don't know. Well, what can you tell us? I can tell you his blood type. I can tell you, No, she needs to know. Your wife, it's manly. It's manly, you know. That's what a man is. That's what a man does. You wanna know talk about space to be a man? You want to talk about space to do man things? A man has real conversations, right? A man is real transparent with the love of his life or his wife or whoever and says, "Hey, look, I'm not doing too hot." Even if it's not physical, but it's mental. And he says, "Just look, I ain't been in the best place lately mentally. Mentally, I've been in a dark place. Mentally, I've been, you know, we've got to if we're going to be in relationship with one another, if we're going to be in relationship with women, if we're going to be in relationship, we've got to learn how to talk to each other. As men, we have to learn how to talk to other men, and as men, we've got to learn how to talk to our significant others, our wives, or the women in our lives. If you're not married and you've got a daughter who you're close to, your daughter needs to know. If you don't have a daughter but you got a girlfriend, your girlfriend needs somebody needs to know what's going on with you. That's manly, so that when things happen, everybody's not caught off guard. One of the toughest things about when my father passed. All right, now, I've mentioned my biological dad, and y'all know he's still alive. He's still living. He's still here in the great city of Lake Charles. But my father, the man who I'm named after, the man who raised me, James L. Chavis, right? So when James L. Chavis, my dad, my father, right, when he passed, one of the toughest things about it was that none of us knew, not me, not my two sisters on his side, like none of us knew what was going on. I mean, we knew he had high blood pressure. We knew that, but we also knew he stayed on top of his blood pressure. And so it was kind of like, man, what's going on? What happened? And that's one of the things that has bugged us kind of for the longest. That I think that's one of the things that is that his life seemed to be taken much too early, much too soon. He wasn't even 70 yet. He was in his, I want to say, what, 50s or 60s at the time. Well, it had to be, he was in his 60s. Yeah, he was in his 60s at the time, right? But I mean, nobody knew. And we had to go and search for answers, right? He kept a, a journal, if you will, of his blood pressure. Every time he took his blood pressure, he wrote it down in a notebook. And we went back and we looked at his blood pressure. Okay, it seems normal. So what happened? And yeah, they did an autopsy, told us what they could tell us, but it was still, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough when all unexpectedly to everybody else, it's unexpected. You've been feeling and hurting and going through things, but you ain't said nothing to nobody. Then when you pass, everybody's like, man, wait, what happened? That's so unexpected. Well, he was just here. He was just talking. And we get stuff happens. People can die. But if people who are around you can know a little bit more about what's going on with you, they can keep an eye on you. They can help you. They can, you know what I mean? And they can even help those if, let's say, you still do pass away because, it's just your time. They can help those around you understand, well, he's been hurting for a while now. He's been dealing with this for a while now. He even went to the doctor. He got checked up. When he went to the doctor said this, and that's what's been going on with him. He didn't want to tell nobody. He didn't want the big, hoopla. But at least, he and I knew. We talked about it. That's see that is more helpful than just everybody at the funeral crying, trying to figure out what happened to you. What's manly is having conversations with those who you love. What's manly is talking to the people who are around you and letting them know, hey, this is where I am. This is what's going on with me. Mentally, I've been dealing with this. Physically, I've been dealing with this. And this is I've been to the doctor about it. Me and the doctor have talked. This is what the doctor says. This is what I've been seeing a psychiatrist or a counselor. This is what my counselor says. It is manly, as we talk about during this month, during our man to man segment. We're talking about space to be a man and to do manly things. It is manly for us to get checked up. It is manly for us to talk about what's happening with us, with our families, with our loved ones, with one another. All right? All right. All right. I just needed to kind of get that out today because as we talk about this month, I need y'all to know, yeah, we got to take care of ourselves, and the best way any of us can take care of ourselves is by letting other folks in and letting them know what's going on with us. All right. All right, all right. I tell you, I often, and I'm gonna close with this. I was trying to close it just now, but I want to close with this. I often go back and I listen to, and I've read the book even, but I listen to the CD in particular more often than I've went back and read the book. But TD Jakes has a CD called He Motions, right? He Motions, and on there, I've even watched the sermon multiple times. But and as I've read the book, watched the sermon, and listened to the music. But TD Jakes tells us the story of a young man. He had to preach this funeral of a of a man in his church, and the hardest thing for him was to sit there during that funeral and to hear the wails and the screams of that man's son, right? And you say, well, why was that young man wailing and screaming? Is because he and his father lived together, right? And he thought that things were good. And so what happened was he came home one day and there was a funny smell, right? He flipped on the lights and there was red stuff with chunks in it all on the wall. It was brains and blood, right? This is how TD Jakes kind of tells the story. The father had been dealing with some things, going through some things, hadn't talked to his son, didn't tell his son anything, just decided that one day he had had enough and he blew his brains out, right? So I want to encourage us. We've got to have space to be a man and do manly things. And I want to encourage, families. I need to encourage families. I'm going to close this way. I got to close this way. I want to encourage you as fathers, as mothers, have conversations with your sons. Why? Because I understand as we talk about suicide, I mentioned suicide just now, right? The suicide rate and the suicide toll is increasing. And we've got to have conversations, hard conversations, difficult conversations with our families. I remember I was 10 years old. I was about 9, 10 years old. And I remember my mom taking me to the funeral for one of her coworkers' sons, right? He was a young man. He was a little bit older than I was, but he had been going through so much, been dealing with so much, and he thought that the only way out was for him to kill himself. And I remember, right? He found a gun and he ended up, blowing his brains out. But I remember I wasn't supposed to go in his room. We were at the house, and like I said, my mom and her coworker were best friends. Still to this day, are good friends, real good friends. Um, And I remember I wasn't supposed to go in his room, but I was looking for like the bathroom or something. I ended up going in his room, and I remember seeing that on the wall, right? I remember seeing the blood, the brains, all that. And I remember how that affected me for a while. And I never talked to anybody about it, never told anybody until years later. But friends, we've got to get to a place to where you talk to your children and you understand what's going on with your children, your sons. I know this is man to man, but I'm including sons, daughters, all of it. Know what's going on with them so that you can help them. All right. All right. All right. Well, friends, I've got to get out of here. Not get out of here just yet. I'm sorry. We've got more time. Y'all, bear with me. We've got more time. I want y'all to keep it locked. This is I Am Encouraged Radio here on 93.5 KPPM, and this is your community-minded station where we are for the community and by the community. All right. And I want to play this song as I close or get ready to go into all the news that you absolutely can use. I want to play this song for you, and I need somebody to know that our God is bigger. He's bigger. All right. So here is "You're Bigger" by Jacqueline Carr right here on I Am Encouraged Radio here on 93.5 KPPM.